Hello, I am back. I just had my shower. And I am coming back because I am coming back today, this early morning. I think it's 6 o'clock. I am coming back because as I was making the other video, there was a message that I actually received yesterday, but I didn't see it as a message. I didn't consider it as something shareable or something I should speak of. But actually, as I'm going to speak with you, you will realize that maybe you will realize somehow that this is actually to be considered. It is to be considered. Let me say it like that. So I'm coming with a message about the devil tricks. The devil tricks. Just like Cain in Genesis, he, the devil, used tricks that were actually feeding on the lust and the selfishness and the jealousy existing already in Cain. The Almighty God said, if you did what you did with a good heart, then you will not bow your head, then you will not feel sad. But if you did what you did, so speaking about the sacrifice that Cain and Abel did, so the Almighty God said, but if you did that with a bad heart and bad intention, then the enemy is at your door. Meaning the enemy has smell and sense that there's already something in Cain that he can use against him. And the Almighty God is giving this warning that if you did what you did, the sacrifice that you did it with bad intentions, and you did it and you are not satisfied, like you did it unwillingly. The enemy is at your door already banging, already knocking. Dominate him, rise above him. So the devil tricks are, this message is about the devil tricks, right? The devil tricks are, he will sense and he will smell a weakness in you, and he will come and feed that weakness in you so that you fall for him. Cain was jealous, and he had somehow lost something after Abel, and he wasn't even like the sacrifice that he did. Normally we are supposed to sacrifice the promises of our fruits, and it was said that Abel was giving as a sacrifice the promises of his fruits, the promises of his work. So that was his sacrifice. And if you go through the whole Bible, it is always said that we should sacrifice the promises of whatever we do to the Almighty God, so that we end up being blessed more by him. And when you read that part of Genesis, it is only spoken about promises of the work only when it comes to Abel. But to Cain, there's nothing like promises. So when the Almighty God said that if you did everything that you did with a good heart, then you shouldn't be sad. But if you know what you didn't do it with a good heart, bearing in mind the promises are only spoken about Abel's fruits, then you feel sad, and the enemy is at your door. So the enemy is already coming to feed Cain on his disobedience of what the Almighty God said about promises, and then he's coming to feed the jealousy. Bear in mind, God looked more favorable to what Abel did compared to what Cain did. So he was jealous. He lusted after the favor that Abel was going to receive, and he already had something that was not working in him. And the enemy came knocking because he sensed that there was already something to feed in Cain. It is also the same thing, like when you go through the entire Bible, you will see that whatever was the fall that the people had, whatever fall they fell into, was a fall that the enemy used because there was already something happening within them. David fell because he lusted after a woman. But David was a king with many women, meaning he already had the lust of women and sexual desires. The enemy came feeding on it. Solomon, the same thing. Solomon was 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 he was lusting after also women, but after foreign women. He was lusting after foreign women. Bear in mind, foreign women came with their own gods, with their own rights, with their own ways. So Solomon falling for and lusting after those foreign women, the enemy used them to bring in many religion and many belief system to take him away from the Almighty God, to take him away and turn him away so that he will go on worshipping the gods that those women came bringing in the kingdom. So if you go through the entire, if you read, if you take your time, I've mentioned Cain, I've mentioned David, I've mentioned Solomon. If you read the history of Israelites, they had a disobeying behavior, they had an impatient behavior, whereby if it is not happening now, then they are turning their back on the Almighty God. Like they were always disobedient, always quick to judge, always quick to jump into the other boat, always quick to go into the easy path, and the enemy used that. So the tricks of the enemy, we Christian, we believers, we aspiring to be shepherds, we have to be wary, because he will use tricks he knows we can fall into, because maybe we have already fell into those pit, or maybe because we are already lusting after those things. If you look at our priests, our pastors, if you speak about Catholicism, if you speak, we are the Catholics, the priests that fell after children, the lust of the kids, the enemy used this. I am not removing the responsibility that they choose. We end up choosing. He will come and share the plate and put this plate in front of us, just like he did with Jesus Christ, who is a king. He brought him on top of the mountain and showed him kingdoms of the world. Bear in mind, this is a king in the celestial and the spiritual ground. And he brings him in the physical ground and say, this is all the kingdoms. If you just do this, I'll give it to you. Because he knows he's already coming from a kingdom area. He's already coming because he's a king. So he's bringing kingship into him, in front of him, telling him that if you fall, I'll give you all the kingdoms of the world, because he knows he's speaking to a king. And this, I saw it in somebody's video. I'm just repeating it because this actually confirmed the message I already received. So I am sharing this also. So we have to be wary, because he is not using new tricks to make us fall. He is not using new things or things that he knows we will not fall into. To somebody who doesn't lust after sexual adventures, after whatever is happening in the sexual ground, somebody who doesn't have this lust, the enemy will not come and tempt him into that. Somebody who doesn't lust after maybe stealing or envy other people's things, the enemy will not come and tempt him or her into those things that will not work for that person. He will smell something in you, in me, and then he will come and bring us a whole plate of how many ways we can fall into that same pit. So my prayer this morning is, we have to pray to the Almighty God that he sees and show us the way we truly are, in our good and our bad days, in our falls and our rising. Through him and only with him should we rise. But when we see ourselves for who we truly are, we will see the way we can fall. And by acknowledging those ways, when the enemy will come knocking on the door, showing us the many ways we can fall into those same pit, we can recognize that this is where I fell before, And I am not going back to that place because the Almighty God has already taken me out of it. But so that is my prayer. We should rely on the Almighty God so that we do not fall into the same falls. We do not fall into the same pit. We shouldn't let the enemy trick us to fall and fall and fall so many times that we will be tired and then accept to stay under, to stay lying down. Because that is what he does. That is what he does. So may the Almighty God save us. Save us physically. Save us spiritually. Save us from our own weaknesses. Save us from all the things that we have allowed ourselves to be working in us that are not of Him and Him alone, so that all those seeds that were sown in our hearts by the enemy we should be cleared of them. The Almighty God should cleanse us from all of those pits and all of those falls that we've so many times felt into. So I don't know if I'm clear enough. As usual, I have not written. As usual, I'm coming to share when it is still hot. So if I haven't been cleared enough, I'm so sorry. But I felt like this was something worthy of being shared, because if you know that you fall so many times into some things, because I'm also part of it, we should open our eyes and recognize that these are tricks the enemy is keeping on using and keeping on make us fall into, because he knows these are our points of weaknesses. So we should bring those points of weaknesses to the Almighty God and make him clean us of all from all of this, from all of them. Purify us, Almighty God. Purify us, clean us, and make us anew so that we can represent you. We can actually resemble you. You made us in your image. I believe this image is not physical, it is spiritual. So we really want to look, behave, speak, and inspire just like you. So this is my video and it is longer than usual, and I'm so sorry if I wasn't clear enough. Please bear in mind, I share it hot, I share it raw, and I hope it was able to help somebody. Shalom, and have a blessed day.